What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're here for the Mexican Grand Prix, round number 18 of Season 4 of F1 2017 Career Mode. Today, we could potentially win the championship and become a World Drivers' Champion for the second time in a row. So, things have to go our way, of course, if that is to transpire. One of the McLarens, or both of the McLarens, have to retire, and we have to score at least 12 points to get that 50-point lead with 2 races to go. So, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. As is always the case this end of the season, it is very, very likely for reliability to strike, especially for the AI, so the possibility is there. But heading straight into Q3 here in Mexico, I felt very, very comfortable with the car. I just loaded my base setup, put on 2.7 wings, and I think 10 or 11 ballast, and right off the bat, I was just confident. I was happy with how the car handled, how it felt, and honestly, I didn't do any tweaking of the setup at all throughout the weekend. It just felt that nice. But yeah, we go 14.5, 7 tenths away from Fernando Alonso in P2. We managed to overcome Stoffel Vandoorne, who gets a lowly P5, but it's very close from 3rd to 5th there. There's a lot of cars you could squeeze in there, but yeah, pretty solid effort in qualifying there. Ahead of our championship rivals, Alonso's a long way back now. I'm not too concerned about him. We've set up the car once again for the race for overtaking and straight line prowess with the 2.7 wings. We also had an engine upgrade failure, sorry, to get ahead of myself. We were going to do an upgrade for R&D for the engine side. That unfortunately hasn't made it in for the start of this race. But we're going to go ahead and make sure that part goes in for the next Grand Prix in Brazil, and that may possibly be the final upgrade we do on this career mode series, which is, yeah, a bit of a shame that's coming to an end, but all good things must come to an end eventually. But let's head to the race. Second place, not too sure if any other cars will have grid penalties. I guess we'll find out when we go to the grid, but either way, we look really well set up to potentially win this race.
It's going to be an interesting race in these conditions. Obviously, you can pretty much throw the form book out the window when it starts raining, and the focus moves away from pure aerodynamic efficiency and more towards the balance of setup and definitely maintaining tyre temperature.
You're above where we expected on the grid. Be careful not to lose places, as there will be faster cars around you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Always babying me through a Grand Prix weekend, as always. We have some rain here for the Mexican Grand Prix. Forgot to mention that, but we are starting on the intermediate tyres on what looks to be a fully wet track according to the weather forecast. So these first few laps are going to be pretty interesting. This is the formation lap. Don't get ahead of ourselves. We're having a nice, easy start. Ease into this Grand Prix a little bit, but yeah, it's going to be very slippery. We're going to have to make sure we don't make any mistakes because this part of the race will probably be the most challenging, and if we can just stay with Alonso and the 2 McLarens, then I feel like we'll be pretty well set up later on in the race. Once it dries up, we can get some confidence and maybe overtake them towards the end, depending on how the pace is. But let's see how this Grand Prix goes. 5 red lights for the Mexican Grand Prix, and we are underway. It looks like a bit of a wheel spinny start, it must be said, but you got to expect that in conditions like this on the set of tyres that we're on as well. But initially, straight line speed looks absolutely awesome up against Fernando Alonso. We might overtake him up the inside. Heading into turn 1, he brakes a lot later than us through the first corner. I lock up ever so slightly, running to the side of him, but thankfully no damage is conceded for the 2 of us. There's a Renault back there getting tangled up with a Sauber. Not too good for those guys back there, but thankfully we're not there, and we're not getting ourselves you know, stuck in that thick of things. But we got the inside of Fernando. Again, he goes really late under brakes around the outside. He can't quite hold it there. And that is us into the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix. I wasn't expecting to lead, not by a long way, especially in conditions like this. But whatever lead, whatever margin, whatever advantage we can get now is absolutely golden in conditions where typically I do not thrive. You guys know this. F1 2017 has not been a game for me where I've been strong in the wet. But today, at least on the first lap, we're looking a little bit more punchy than usual, leading this Grand Prix. Again, being very, very cautious, very conservative on this first lap. The AI are very different in the way that they behave to the player. They straight away are on the pace right from word go in conditions like this, whereas me, you know, this is all new to me in a way. I have to build up my pace, whereas the AI are straight up to their maximum right from word go. But initially, pace is looking pretty good, setting purple laps straight away. We're actually pulling away from the rest of the field by quite some margin.
Rain to ease up in around 5 minutes. 5 minutes till light rain.
5 minutes till light rain. So it still is raining heavy at the moment. It is still ideally suited to wet tyres, but the strategy is faster by starting on the intermediate tyres and just dealing with it for the first few laps. That's a lot of wheel spin and oversteer through the final corner. It's a tricky corner to get right at the best of times. The traction is really limited through there, especially when the conditions are as bad as this. But, you know, initially, I was expecting to be a lot weaker than this, but we're actually, for the most part, containing Fernando Alonso here. If not, probably just as fast as him, in all honesty. We've been setting purple laps here and there. You can see we pulled away from the rest of the field. Vandoorne has finally got past Vettel once again after a bit of a sluggish start. We go purple there, the first one into the 29s, and ever so slightly easing away from Fernando Alonso in conditions like this. Like, I was expecting to not have any grip, to be sliding around all over the place. I have been a little bit at the final corner, as you can see there, but for the most part, confidence has been pretty high, and I've been able to get on with the job in the wet, which is something I don't normally do. So it's been a welcome change. You can see I'm just easing away from Fernando. I'm in control in this race. So weird, so weird to be in a situation like this. Fernando pits now very early on for a new set of intermediate tyres. It's still going to be raining for at least half the race, we know this. Let's get a gauge on when the weather is going to stop.
Sorry, we can't provide you with that information right now.
Okay, thanks very much, Jeff. Always helpful as usual. Whenever there's a transition in weather, whether it be from dry to wet, wet to dry, whenever that transition is actually happening, the engineer says, oh, we don't have any information. So that means the conditions are changing right now, and we could see a switch onto dry tyres very shortly. But for the moment, we're just staying out. We're just sticking it out, setting purple laps on old intermediate tyres, mind you. It is so important to have fresh intermediate tyres in these conditions in order to be fast, but for some reason, we're faster than everyone else, and we stayed out. Look at the lead we have to Bottas. It's the whole start-finish straight of Mexico. It's unbelievable how much of a lead we have on old tyres, in control, and the fastest car on the grid. I had to check the difficulty as well to make sure it was on ultimate 110, and it was, and everything is just coming together today. I don't understand. The McLaren should be head and shoulders above us in terms of raw car performance, but they're not. And I don't know why. I haven't changed anything with the setup. I'm driving normally. It's just, I'm not struggling today. And I wish I knew why I wasn't for some reason. But I don't know. I'm just going to get on with the job here. You can see we got the inside of one of the Sabres there. The first car to go lapped in this Grand Prix. Getting dangerously close now to dry conditions, so we'll ask Jeff, see what's going on, because I feel like dry tyres aren't too far away.
Okay, the safety car is out. The safety car is out. We need to form up at a reduced pace. Keep a close eye on that delta time. Make sure to keep it positive.
Okay. I was gearing up to ask Jeff what was going on with the weather, but now we have a safety car period. That definitely changes things now. That lead that we had, I think it was the best part of 5-6 seconds, it is now dwindled down to nothing. This often happens.
Okay, we're more or less in the pit window now. If you want fresh rubber during the safety car, we're ready for you.
This often happens when I'm in control. I never win races easily. I never make things easy for myself. It's never a simple, straightforward affair. We're now going to go on to dry tyres. And I can hear all the people in the comment section screaming at me saying that is the wrong decision. But the transition has been happening for the best part of 5, maybe even 10 minutes now. You can see how dry the track is from the exterior shots. The dry line is starting to appear. And I feel like with this safety car period, it's only going to help us get towards that dry period without losing too much track position. So we'll see how we go. The tyres at this stage, they're not working. That's clear to see. We're not going fast enough for the tyres to heat up enough. They need to be...
Okay, let's get ready to go racing again. The safety car is in this lap.
They need to be the best part of like 100 degrees for them to work properly. on the racetrack and be faster than the intermediate tyres. But we're getting ready for a restart here. This is all getting very, very messy with the cars pretty much stopping on the grid. And now we've got to give a place back to Magnussen on intermediate tyres. This is great. We're meant to be getting on with this race now. And here we are letting drivers through. Someone's going up my inside. That's Grosjean as well. The Haas drivers, they're absolutely mental. Both on the game and in real life. It's mad scenes. But away we go for the restart now. 11 laps to go. Ericsson, who was a lap down, has crashed with someone on the lead lap, so that's great. But yeah, initially you can see the track is still wet. There's a lot of water, there's a lot of spray on the screen, and keeping up with the intermediate runners for the moment is very, very tricky. But you can see they're already diving into the pits now for dry tyres, so you'd have to say that this strategy should work out. So long as we can keep those McLarens within 20 seconds of us, we will have the lead of this Grand Prix. And I think with the pace that we have, that shouldn't be a problem, even if they do emerge a few seconds behind us or whatever. But Stroll, oh my goodness. This is a problem throughout the entirety of the Grand Prix. Lap cars getting in the way, blocking us on the apex. That was no exception once again. That really needs to be sorted out for the next F1 game. But finally, everyone else is diving in for their stops. But as is always the case with the AI, they have dived in for intermediate tyres, Alonso included. Look at how dry the track is. As my English completely fails me there. Why is he going back onto intermediate tyres when we're only meant to be switching onto dries in literally a lap's time? I really don't understand this, and this harps back to my video that I talked about yesterday or the other day about F1 2017 being too easy, too forgiving. The AI, they've just given me this race win, albeit I had to be very aggressive on this strategy, switching to the dry tyres on a wet track. But still, the AI should have had the presence of mind to cover me off and make sure that I didn't run away with the race by 20 or 30 seconds or however long it was. And here we go through the final corner. Burnouts aplenty. It's another race win at the Mexican Grand Prix.
Superb driving. That's the race win.
Victory for the team from Milton Keynes then, after a quality performance. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
So here come our winning drivers today, and what a race it was. There's been a big push at the factory lately to get these cars ready, and we can see the fruits of that labour today as Red Bull lift the winner's trophy.
A win then. A win at the Mexican Grand Prix. I don't know how many wins for the season this is now, but it is a considerable amount, and with our position in the championship, I think we have almost well and truly won this thing now. It's not over mathematically. There's still a possibility for Stoffel Vandoorne to beat me, but honestly that looks really, really unlikely at this stage of the game. 8 seconds was the difference in the end, and I feel like if the AI would have stopped onto dry tyres instead of doing 2 stops on inters, I really feel like we would have been placed under considerable pressure there. We're pretty much cruising in the final few laps, just bringing it home, but you know, I'm not saying Stoffel would have won the race if he would have switched onto dries, but he certainly would have been a lot closer, and we could have had a titanic battle to the end of the Grand Prix with me on older tyres and Stoffel with a huge amount of pace that he had. You can see 16.7 there would have really made me sweat for those final few laps. So the gap is 45 points in the championship. 50 points are on offer now, and with the remaining races, I think we only need to finish like P7. P6 to secure the title, and it doesn't matter where Stoffel finishes, we just need 7th or 6th, and that should be it. So in the next episode, I think it will almost certainly be a case of winning the Drivers' Championship, and it could be the final episode. I feel like we probably should end it on a victory, so we'll see how we go, and if it does end up being the last race, and I think it might be a 100% race, so we'll see how that goes. We'll have an engine upgrade heading our way for the Brazilian Grand Prix as well. I love that track, so let's hopefully have one final good race, and let's have a huge scrap with both the McLarens to see out this series. Hopefully that's the case. Sometimes you don't always get that, which is what we saw today, which was just a a dominant affair, which was actually quite nice, to be honest. You don't get too many races like this on my channel where we're at the front and we stay at the front for the whole time just controlling things. It is a nice change of pace sometimes, but thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Just want to say, like, huge thank you to all you guys for sticking with me through this whole career mode series. I think it's 74 episodes strong now. You know, the numbers that we hit at the start of this game was just absolutely mind-blowing, and just to see so many of you guys still here supporting the series, asking where it is every video. I see those comments and I really appreciate it, and yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying these final few episodes. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until the Brazilian Grand Prix, I'll see you next time.